Добрый вечер и добрый день,
So good
поскольку
evening and
у
good day
нас
to
3
everyone.
часа
So
разницы во времени
we have a
с
3 hours
Европой,
difference in time.
поэтому и добрый вечер, и
Therefore, I
добрый
am
день, у кого
in the
как. Я
position to
рада
say good day
приветствовать вас
and
на
good
ADAMI
evening. I'm
Focus Armenia.
so happy to
Это
welcome
в
you
своем
at the
роде
ADAMI
новый
Focus
проект
Armenia.
ADAMI,
In
который
fact, this
позволит
is a new project of
более
ADAMI,
эффективно и точно работать с
which is
аудиторией в
now
каждой
function
стране
with a
по
very targeted
отдельности.
audience in
Фокус у
this
нас идет на
country.
2 языках, на русском и на
We will have
английском.
this
Внизу есть
event in
кнопка,
two
кто не
languages,
знает, с
English and
помощью которого
Russian.
можете
So
выбрать
if you
язык,
know how
на
to
котором вам
activate
удобнее работать.
the
И
possibility
тоже,
for the
то же самое
interpretation, you can find the button in the bottom part of the screen. It's a small globe, so you can choose the channel which is more comfortable for you. I only wanted to add
будут
that might you
вопросы.
have
Ну,
questions.
желательно, конечно, чтобы они были.
And of course, I do expect
Внизу
that you will
есть
have questions. So if
ладошка, с помощью
there are
нее можете
questions,
сообщить
you
нам
can
об этом.
show the hand,
И, конечно же, дадим вам слово. Еще
and
можете
we will
написать
offer you the
вопросы в
floor.
чате, и они
And
также прозвучат.
then we will
Модератором
offer
нашего
you the
фокуса
possibility
сегодня
to put it
в
in
роли
the chat.
модератора выступит Радка Батчева. Кто не знает, Радка Батчева является
And today
представителем
we'll also have
EDU
Radka
в
Betcheva. She
Восточной
is the
Европе.
representative of the European
В роли
Union for the Eastern
спикера
Europe,
главный редактор общественного телевидения
and also the
Армении
editor
Армен Саркисян, который
in
в
chief
недавнем
of
прошлом
the
сам
Armenian TV,
руководил
Armen
Первый канал.
Sargsyan, will also take the floor today.
И я не представилась, Кристина
I had
Мелконян,
not
представитель
introduced
ADAMI в
myself.
Армении.
I'm Kristina Melkonyan. I'm the representative of ADAMI in Armenia.
Уважаемые участники, прежде чем начнем фокус, позвольте представить вам еще один очень важный проект ADAMI. Это Teaching Project, то есть продвижение проекта. Это отличная возможность, особенно для молодых творческих людей во время ковида, показать свои работы международной аудитории и профессиональным жюри. Все 8 номинанты уже известны. Кстати, среди них есть и работа армянского режиссера Соны Кочарян. И ваш голос очень важен для продвижения ее работы. Так что зайдите на сайт ADAMI, проголосуйте, тем самым поддержите участников. Сейчас предлагаю посмотреть трейлер фильма и потом продолжить нашу работу.
The ADAMI Media Prize competition has entered a new stage. In Cologne, an international jury selected the 8 best projects with cultural, ethnic, and religious diversity themes from the 6 Eastern Partnership countries. Armenia, Separated, Azerbaijan, Next Station, Belarus, Road to Slovakia, Moldova, Lost in Moldova, Ukraine, Dudu and Lala, Georgia, Prisoner from Dagestan, The Lion That Guards the City, Betcheva. Starting 1st November on the ADAMI Media Prize website ADAMIMediaPrize.eu, you will be able to view all of the projects, and from 10th November you will be able to support their success both materially and creatively. On 10th December, the authors of the winning projects will present their work on live TV to demonstrate the uniqueness of their projects, win monetary prizes, and seek financial and creative partners. Support cultural, ethnic, and religious diversity.
Итак, это был трейлер. Еще раз хочу напомнить, что на официальном сайте ADAMI, ADAMIMediaPrize.eu вы сможете посмотреть все 8 фильмов и проголосовать за ту работу, которая вам понравится, тем самым поддержать участников. А сейчас я с удовольствием передаю слово Радке Батчевой. Госпожа Батчева, прошу, вы можете уже начинать дискуссию, наш фокус.
Thank you very much, Christine. Hello to everyone. I hope
Спасибо, Кристине, и добрый день всем.
The topic is very interesting and very important for public service media. We all know that public service media is a special democratic institution, and it is an institution which has to reach out to all segments in society, to all minorities, to all people who are with hearing or viewing impairments, with groups with different languages and with different religious backgrounds, etc. And for this, public service media plays this special role in the society of a cohesion factor, a factor which brings understanding, tolerance, and good synchron between the different groups in the society. So my first question to Armen would be, I know that Armenia doesn't have a big percentage of minorities, be it linguistic or religious or different minorities. It's a small percentage, maybe up to 2 or 3%. But it would be interesting to see how the Armenian public broadcaster is serving cultural minorities. So Armen, the floor is yours.
Thank you for invitation. Yes, actually, when we see the percentage of minorities, we can see that the main population in Armenia is native Armenian, but we can also see some, let's say, on the context of our topic, the growth of new minorities, which we never had as cultural or national groups, because traditionally, for example, we had Indian students coming to Armenia for studying at Yerevan State Medical University, and of course within the Soviet period and a couple of decades after it, these students became a very nice, let's say, addition to this minority palette of Armenia, and even sometimes in the center of Yerevan before pandemic, we could see the celebration of Indian celebration days, the celebration of colors, Dari as they called, etc., etc. And also we had with recent economic developments, we have we can say now very strong Iranian community. Officially, what the legislation works for Armenia is that even a smaller community, cultural, smaller minority even, can be officially recognized as a minority. It gets registered as a non-governmental organization. And currently we have some 20 non-governmental organizations that, according to law, declare themselves as national minority non-governmental organizations. But according to census, we have more, we have more minorities that go further and further, and even we have like dozens of groups of other national minorities, etc. So the question is, if we can just separate the cultural thing that takes place in the society and then the official census and the like pure national minorities, that differs. For example, according to our electoral law, election law, we the four main national minorities in Armenia, according to former census, have a seat, one seat in the parliament, according to political lists. And these four, actually these four minorities, at this time, we had census in 2011, I think. These four minorities are Yazidi minorities, Yazidi people, Russians, Assyrians, and Kurds. But this list goes down and down. I mean, we have the other minorities also, but they are represented. And what Armenian public TV does, we are also kind of looking on this mixture, and we don't want only to act according to legislation and according to our obligations, because the state itself, the country also has obligations according to European conventions and by our own legislation. What we want to do is that apart our obligations towards the state legislation, also to pay attention to the general cultural mood that we can see in the society.
Внимание именно к настроению культурным, которые мы видим в обществе.
Minority of Indian students from
Допустим,
Calcutta are not registered as
меньшинство индийских студентов.
Non-governmental organization or cultural or national group, etc. And let's say they are not recognized officially, they did not apply for any organization, etc. In any case, we pay attention. And in any case, we react to their activities. We try to insert through our programming or into our formats information, stories, etc., etc. And as for the obligations, Armenian public TV, actually every day, according to these topics, I find out that we have a lot of obligations, and one of them is that we have on our weekly programming, we must have a program that covers cultural and national minorities. And even we have a duration of this program, which should be on weekly basis, 30 minutes. This is the public TV's, let's say, basis, what we do. And according to this new law on audiovisual media in Armenia, we are acting strongly to these recommendations and strongly to the articles of the law. But we did this actually, we had this approach long before. Long time we had a special design format for national and cultural minorities in Armenia, and we had kind of let's say approach to represent to the public about the problems, about the national celebrations, about the language of national minorities. But the things always change, especially the TV, the philosophy of TV always change. And now we have to think about what is our goal? To give the national minorities their voice on public TV, or to present the Armenian society, the cultural and national diversity. And these things fully, I mean, they fully differ. And that's why we have decided to divide our strategy into two parts. We always have weekly program on national minorities, national cultural minorities, and we cover each time a special approach, national holidays, problems, their national legends, etc., etc. And on daily basis, we have started to talk about the second part I have already said, to give them some voice on, to give our society to understand what national minorities are, where they work, how they live, how they get organized, and how we can interact with them. And for this reason, we had our, like I will talk within this last 5 years of time period, we had this project which is called Next to Us. And if the host will enable the screen sharing, I may show some screenshots of our projects, if you don't mind. Was the project Next to Us, which is called Next to Us. And we used to go through the, this is the screenshot of Armenian Public TV of this program. So we used to go to through actually through the minorities and then represent their if they were living compact in several in some certain villages, etc. We used to tell about them, their history, and actually represent their life and their role in the Armenian society. So this project was on air more than 3 years, and later we found out that we actually just get repeated. I mean, we started over and over to tell the same thing, and then we changed the focus, and we thought of representing national minorities through one certain angle. And then for this broadcasting season, we have chosen the food, to tell through the food, to tell through the national cuisine, the national minorities. This was a little bit like more interesting idea, to more fresh idea, and it also went very viral through social media, because this kind of food things, the interaction, etc., that they always work for this kind of projects. And yes, I can say that we made it. And this broadcasting season, actually, we have called National Tastes or National Aroma. And we had this actually this project, which still goes, and it will continue till the end of this December. And then we are thinking about what kind of approach we can choose for the upcoming season. But one is for sure, that actually this is the web page of Armenian Public TV, where people can even watch, besides the broadcasting, people watch these minorities. Here there are a lot of the Chinese culture. I can see the Russian minorities, Jewish minorities, etc. Yeah. So after this, the upcoming season, we are thinking about the new approach. I'm not sure on what selection we will get stopped, but also next year we will be having programs on national languages. I mean, Armenian Public TV will broadcast. We will start with news, but we will see. We are very much keen. We want to very much close also to some very cultural things, not news. Maybe songs. Maybe we can turn into small animations, their national fairy tales, etc. We are thinking over it. But next year, for sure, on Armenian Public TV also will sound the language besides Armenian. And besides these projects, we also have, and I'm like around finishing the answer of your first question. Sorry, a little bit lasted, but anyhow, there would be other questions. Besides this, we also had 40 different units that we have broadcasted, for example, in 2020. I mean, besides this program, we had opportunity to broadcast films, some other stories on our morning project, etc. For example, our government gave a grant to national minorities for their cultural improvement. And you can imagine all of them have created films on this grant. I mean, they use this on media, and then they have applied officially to us, to Armenian Public TV, and we actually invested additional efforts. We have made additional editing and dubbing, etc., etc., and we have broadcasted these films also. So we are in sort of interactive connection with these things, and besides, there is always news, which sometimes uses the official statements. I mean, when there is a national celebration of a cultural group, of a minority, etc., our newscast does not limit itself with only this official statement of prime minister or president, and we always have some kind of national thing. And I want to just mention one moment during this hard lockdown and pandemic that we even showed people could not attend any religious or any celebration program, but on Armenian Public TV, we broadcasted live national celebration of one of the minorities, Yazidi people, the Yazidi Easter. We broadcasted from a family, which was very nice on public TV on this lockdown depression. We had a very nice evening with live broadcasting with the family, because people could not gather. They would like to see what's going on, etc. And if this makes answer of your question, I'm done.
Thank you very much, Armen, for this indeed comprehensive but also inspiring answer. And you're only proving this statement that the minorities are wealth of Europe, and we're happy to be rich with this. My next question would be: you mentioned that you have a weekly program of 30 minutes. Do you have minority representatives who are reporting for their minorities, or you're using your own journalists who are reporting on the minority groups?
Actually, in this program, they are, let's say, they are the reporters. I mean, it's only there is a director actually, but there is no text. There is no actual. I mean, they are telling about themselves. But if you are asking directly, are people from minorities, are they directly involved in making their own program? Not yet. And this is the thing that next year, what I was talking about, that we will involve them, in making their own program in their national languages.
Okay, so
but also one small thing that we also have. I mean, this is not the general question, the general answer to this question, but we also have a lot of national minorities that are involved in Armenian public TV. I mean, we have people that belong to different cultural groups, and they work for. There are employees, so we always diversity too. I mean, Ukrainians, people. We have Russians that work in Armenian public TV, but they are not directly involved on what you said, on the program that is made on their own for this purpose.
Yeah, thank you, Armen. I think that a good practice of a common practice in other public service media is that it's good when minorities work for minorities. We have a question from Francesco, how the minority groups are integrated in saying that you have different already representatives, not only from different nations, but I presume also with different cultural backgrounds in your workforce. You confirm, right?
Sure. And we also have, I mean, we also have like cultural programs, like, for example, let's say concerts, talk shows, evening, this current affairs project, etc., etc., that these people work for that. But the general thing that we have designed is that when they will be working on this particular issue, and they are their own. I mean, this is actually one of our strategies, that we want to outsource the projects to the groups that are the targets of this project. For example, we for people with disabilities, we outsource our program. We outsource to the non-governmental organizations, to organizations that deal with people with disabilities, and they make this own program. I mean, they also receive money from us, but they are actually the real actors. They are as you say, they are the journalists, they are the directors, and they choose and find out the heroes, etc., etc. They can be considered our employees because we contract them. It's actually outsourced, and they become our employees for a period of 6 months. This is the thing, and the same we plan for the next year, for the upcoming broadcast season.
Yeah, and Armen, how do you ensure feedback from these groups? How do you measure? Because normally it is you as a manager, I presume, as editor-in-chief, I presume that you also measure and balance how much resources are also going to these groups. But what is the return of value, so to say? How well they are received by these minority groups?
Yeah, the first thing is that for the feedback, actually, we have kind of the general feedback, which are our ratings that we receive from these measurement companies. Actually, measurement company, we say, we have only one. This general feedback, actually, yeah, we are not the founder of this company. It's supposed to be independent, and the general feedback is that we actually track several projects that we have invested into the program list. And first, we measure the general rating of a product, and it doesn't matter. We don't look to project as a program on national minorities or its news, etc. And then in this case, we track its place on the general list of the rating. The second thing is the twice a year meeting with representatives and civic, or sometimes even regional leaders of the minorities that are here. They also apply us. They also visit us, actually, for various projects we have. And in these cases, for when they decide to reach us, this means that have kind of very urgent things to talk and to criticize, etc., etc. When we reach for our strategic plans. I mean, what they want, how can we include, which questions are important. For example, last year I was the host of one talk show which called Rules of Game, and we have started the season about a shocking fact that we found out, that starting from independence of Armenia till now, in one village, in one minority village, not a female student graduated the middle school because of these early marriages, which are very popular in Yazidi community. I'm talking only about one village with only population of 140 people. But this fact, we became like national news on air on Friday evening. And people came, I mean, the representative of the village, of the minority of NGOs, they really came to say what they think about it. And these kind of things really happen, and they have their have to say. I mean, we have this kind of things now. And now we have another process also, another complaints, because we have the decentralization process in Armenia, and several villages join to one another, and there are some minority villages that they want to be part, that they don't want to join to several Armenian villages, because they want to keep their uniqueness, etc., etc. And this one is also in our project, and people from various minority groups, they apply us. Actually, I could even say they request us to cover these things. And this is another thing to actually to count how the result, or maybe I'm not talking about the outcome, what our programs make outcome, how these projects, how these problems are solved later in the society, because I'm talking about a very gender issue, for example, which is not hard, which is hard to resolve in 1 or 2 days. But not the outcome, but actually the interaction always takes place. And this is actually our measuring tool, if we can consider this. So the first one is the official thing again, what we do with our ratings. And another thing is in-person meetings and their reactions towards us. I mean, when they reach us, we find it a result of our work. And when they reach directly to us and not to other TV channels, to other media, this is always good for us. So because we think that we have kind of a trust on coverage.
Thank you, Armen. I asked all these questions, and they are leading naturally to a very common dilemma in public service media, and it is how we public service media ensure the integration of minority content in the mainstream programs. So it's basically the ghettoization of the programs versus mainstream programs. So do we really have like them in a separate program unit with a separate editorial policy, etc., or we just make sure that through the working force, through diversity of journalists and working force, through diversity of topics and diversity of different sources, we ensure them integrated in the mainstream. And I'm curious to know how do you look at this dilemma?
Yes, and for answering this question, we have to find out actually what is mainstream in Armenia. This is a very for us as the managers of public TV. This is a very blurry thing, because sometimes mainstream actually doesn't reflect the everyday needs of the society. I mean, sometimes even one small event sometimes becomes mainstream, and this mainstream, unfortunately, comes from social media and enters our classic TV, destroys our lives. Actually, lives of TV people. We are used to do handmade projects. We are used to think about it, light, etc., etc. But this mainstream sometimes destroys the whole program. But going back to your question, is that we kind of set quotas on our mainstream to get diverse. And I will explain you in a very short manner. When we have a discussion, we set quotas that if it's on cultural topic, we must have someone from national minority. Even if it's a political topic, a discussion on public affairs, we need to have at least 3 women within 6 people. If it's even, if it's actually like a news-making political event, we have to have like at least 2 people from opposition, etc., etc. These quotas usually work for cultural things, for political things, but for let's say other, I mean, For some other spheres, we have a lot of difficulties to show the diversity. I mean, in the mainstream, because we are, we are pressed for having one health program on weekly basis, one kids program on weekly basis, some political news, etc., etc. And these quotas usually that we set our maximum. But going back to all the time setting maximum, going back, and when someone from Ukrainian community comes to talk on a talk show, how do we keep our traditions? Actually, when we say our, it means the title nation, right? But when Ukrainian community, a Ukrainian singer, 60 years old, nice woman who has her own, singing group, and she comes and she shares her experience, how they have gathered, and they keep their own cultural entity, actually, uniqueness. And this makes us, I mean, this makes the broadcast, this makes the TV, the content very, very nice and very, I mean, keep these quotas on mainstream. Again, it's hard because politics and what we call social media sometimes beat us even for our strategy. There are young people watching us. I consider myself already old, but when we say social media or social journalism, sometimes I bring example to my students that imagine I had a car accident and I open my eyes and see someone looking at me, and I say, "Oh, doctor, very nice that you come to save me." And she says, "I'm not a doctor, I'm social doctor, and I will try to sell it. And will I trust my life to this social doctor instead of doctor?" So that's why we are always keen to like handmade classical TV products, and still we keep this keep these quotas. But we see where we go, where the TV actually goes. Armenian public TV marks its 65th anniversary this year, November 29, and we still think, what is our future? And I'm sure that people 65 years ago, they were thinking the same. What will be the future of TV?
And let's hope that they'll be thinking the same in 96 years.
Sure.
Thank you, Armen. Nelly said that we could eventually extend. We started a little bit late, so I would allow myself the luxury of pose my last question, and then we could open for discussion. Right, Christine? We could extend 10 more minutes because we started a little bit late. Is it correct? Armen, I would head to my, I had more questions, but I would like to give the opportunity to the participants to pose their question. But since we were talking already about future and about social media, I just wanted to ask you, how do you see, for instance, the future of artificial intelligence or social media, how they could be useful for the minority programs in the close future and maybe in the future in general?
Yeah, the social presence actually is extremely important. I mean, but we have to now go through. Actually, when we say the social media presence, we have to think about how we can turn this social media, this internet buzz, into project. I mean, we have always been thinking how to use dramas for development. When I say dramas, it's not a tragedy. I mean, social dramas that always happen, right? In social games, maybe, if someone would say. So we are thinking of how to turn the dramas, the social dramas in the social media and actually in the society for the development, and for the development, not only the society, not only the country, but also for professional development. I mean, for TV. We don't want our workplace to get die. And that's why we want to take a lot of things from social media. In this case, we have a lot. I mean, a lot of minorities, even not on organizational level, not on institutional level, I'm sorry, institutional, politically put it on TV, but have these people to the literacy thing. And now we are in the beginning of Media Literacy Week in Armenia, and Armenian Public TV joins this week. And this applies to all the society, that actually we must have a very educated and literate approach to social media. And it's not a bad thing. And then we know these leaders, and sometimes when we see someone, for example, a woman from a young girl, even from a Kurdish minority in Armenia. She took part in some film production class, and for her, as she was explaining in Facebook, in her Facebook post, for her community, this was a unique thing. But this was great example for her and for the other young girls from her community to reach to this thing. And then the next day, we have invited her to our morning show, which is a light talking show. And then she's a young girl. She's impressed with this film production class, etc., etc. And then this means that we found her from social media. This means that we followed some posts, and then we did this, and this is the kind of a first step. And then when she may have her movie done, her documentary done, and then we even promised her on air live that we can even broadcast it, etc., etc. Things goes like, step by step. There are not, mostly we do not have systematization of experiences, because experiences always get changed in the society, but we try to systemize our experiences on this kind of steps.
Thank you very much, Armen. I see that we have already a raised hand. Christine, please, if you have a question or you want to comment, please, the floor is yours.
Благодарю. У меня вот такой вопрос. Я, во-первых, хочу подтвердить то, что сказал господин Сарgsyan. Первый канал на самом деле делает очень большую работу в связи с культурным разнообразием. Но у меня вот такой вопрос. Достаточно ли эффективна та работа, что делает один канал общественный? Есть ли у нас какой-то мониторинг в Армении, имею в виду, насколько эффективно работают другие вещатели, чтобы понять вообще, как работает телевизионная сетка во всей стране?
Yes, we have this kind of monitoring, and this is done not of course by public TV, but this is done through the initiation of Council of Europe, and we receive every year according to the Framework Convention of the Protection of National Minorities, which is a Council of Europe product. Let's say every year we receive the actual report submitted on Armenia, and in this report there is a huge part on what Armenian media do on cultural minorities, and we are the public broadcaster, of course, on its higher place, because our Armenian public radio has also programs on national languages, on minority languages, on 28 languages. Armenian Public Radio broadcasts even several 14 languages, and they have projects on 28 languages. But this actually this monitoring, actually this report is the table book for us. And not only because we watch our competitors, let's say, but also in this report we receive reactions from troubles and problems that our national minorities face, and this becomes for us, this makes us to make some ideas how we can assist on it and how we can cover it, etc., etc. And this on this June, actually, the report was actually released that I'm talking about, and it was very interesting. And there are a lot of points on media. There are mentioned name by name the organizations that media organizations that cover national and cultural minority issues. And then yes, me personally as editor-in-chief, I always follow this. I follow to the even publications, how many like books were published on national languages, or how many national minority civic leaders, they have published some books, etc., etc. This happens, and we always try to cover this. And I'm not aware of what is done inside the republic, inside the state. I mean the monitoring, but this one is good for us. We learn what kind of grants they receive, these organizations, and we try to cover their activities, etc., etc.
Thank you very much, Armen. I'm glad that you mentioned the Framework Convention for the Protection of National Minorities. We have really to remember that public service media is obliged according to the law to serve all the minorities, but we have also international instruments which oblige us, and this is the European Convention of Human Rights, the European Charter on Regional and Minority Languages, and the Framework Convention on for the Protection of National Minorities. And as Armen mentioned, these regular checks and reports which Council of Europe or other international organizations are conducting, and I'm glad to hear that that Armen, you and your team, that you are following up these reports, because indeed this is a very valuable data on which you could react and use it for further development. We have one more. We have the next question from Lisa Alpaidze. So Lisa,
hello. Hello, my question is about, for example, about Armenian people who are ethnical minorities in other countries, and how can public broadcaster be relevant to them, and how can it be like, how can it give them the information about the country? How can it be relevant, and how is it important for public broadcaster to be the voice from the country to the people who are in other countries and who are minorities in other countries?
If I could understand you, is that how we use the voice of Armenian minorities in other countries, or?
Yes, for Armenian minorities who live in other countries. Mm-hmm. For them, your channel should be like the voice from Armenia. Sure.
Yeah, for certain countries, you also may know, Lisa, for certain countries, it's very easy. For example, for US or France, for Lebanon, I mean, the Armenian diaspora in this case is always on news. They even have their own TV channels, newspapers, etc., etc. And yes, they are on public TV, mainstream. uh, uh, what what we really think is, I mean, this Armenian minorities, Armenian diaspora groups and organizations, they are mostly worried about the Armenian society, not about like their troubles or their problems in their countries. I mean, this is our life. This is a these are the times that we live, that they mostly want to, I mean, interact Armenian politics. They always want to comment what's going in Armenia and not in their countries. I mean, we have a huge majority of Armenians in France, but we never, I mean, we rarely catch reactions. What are their troubles in France? They always comment on us. I mean, they are always keen to what's going in Armenia, and this is actually again becomes a white Armenian problem rather than a problem of, or a I mean, approach of Armenian community in France. This is the thing. And even, for example, in Georgia, when we are, I think, the second minority, right? Even in Georgia, we can feel that apart the cultural thing that we always try to make interactions and then try to cover, for example, the cultural activities of Armenians in Georgia, we also see that the national minority, the Armenian community in Georgia is again very much interested what's going on in Armenia. And then their comments are on us. Their comments are not on mainly are not on the country they live. But this also I mean, has its background within this several years, the Armenian politics, the revolution, the last war, etc., etc. This made even our society even is right now blurry, and we are having not the best times in the general history. And this might the Armenian diaspora groups and Armenian minorities, somehow I feel they forgot their own development, their own cultural uniqueness in the countries they live, and they are actually keen to Armenia, to our society. This is the thing. But we covered. There are several projects that diaspora does in. For example, the young Armenian people use several voluntary projects to come and work to Armenia. So this morning, just this morning, we had 4 these kind of stories on different formats. We had our morning show, on news, etc., etc. And as far as I remember, I have heard the word young in your question, young Armenian people, etc. This is actually our general problem, that yes, we need more young people on air and more young voices. And you know, TV is considered to be some kind of a classic thing, and then we think that like people who already have great experience, who already have graduated several universities, etc., etc., they have right on have their say on TV, and we have this problem to turn on to young people. And then I confess that yes, we sometimes we are missing young opinions on public TV, because it's kind of it became kind of a very it has classical approach, and we consider that our audience, of course, is multicultural, diverse, etc., etc. But we have this problem to have young people their say on public TV.
Thank you, Armen. Actually, we have three questions, one from Mariam, then Christine, and then Daci. I would now read the question of Miriam Hofhannisyan. Can we say that there is already a certain trust towards public broadcaster from the side of national minorities? How would you evaluate the engagement of young national minorities in the process of creating media content? You partly touched on this, but maybe you could add something to her question.
Yeah, so the trust in media, actually the trust, let's talk frankly, I mean, the trust in journalism, actually, when we talk in media or journalism, etc., it can be destroyed in any time. I mean, you can work for ages doing a lot of good things, and coverage of one event may destroy all your image and trust. So that's why we try to, I mean, we try very I mean, long steps to reach to this coverage and to this engagement. I mean, we also have limits, and we do not like admit everything, every content into air. And we try to, first of all, we try to make a format out of it. I mean, we always can have an interview on one issue, but that format is already old for us. And we tried some even multimedia project too. We try out social media, very huge social media power, because we have hundreds of thousands followers on YouTube and constant growth of our Facebook account, etc. This is the way of reaching media. We even I was the one, by the way, for example, that I have suggested to have TikTok account on, because some people were of other opinion of this social platform, right? And then this is one way to gain followers and to have young people to be closer to us. And later we will evaluate our trust. I mean, later if we will get followers, if we will get reactions, etc., then we will follow the scheme of the trust we are having. And this is very, I am very critical towards this, and I want to do the steps in a way that we won't have to go back and delete whatever we had, etc. So that's why we are very, very slow, but we are very fast growing on gaining young audience, first on social media, and then we have to sit and think, how can we put these social media people, followers, to make them to watch our main channel. And this is also another thing.
Thank you so much, Armen. I very much liked your metaphor with how fragile actually our trust is, that you could build a trust for ages, and then just one word could ruin your trust. Christine, you lowered your hand. Is it because you don't want to now pose your question that Armen already answered it, or you still want to have your question, please? No, she doesn't want. Okay.
Yeah, Daci.
Yeah, so the next question is from Daci. Please, the floor is yours. You have to unmute.
Yes, my question, for example, in Georgia, we have minorities who don't speak Georgian language, and especially with COVID situation, they don't get information from public TV, and they get a lot of disinformation from Russian channels or from social media. And if you have the same problems with minorities in Armenia, and what kind of approach you have to that they are more safe?
Yes, if we are talking about the disinformation and propaganda, I want just to assure you that even if people would understand the language and talk in this language, in any case, disinformation does it job. I mean, even in Armenia, when people, I mean, the minorities, they speak Armenian, they write Armenian, they go, I mean, they have their national classes on their national languages, but only they have large interaction. Even in this case, we cannot, I mean, we cannot escape from misinformation. You even mentioned the Russian sources, that the Russian sources of information. This is, I think, this is a global problem, because we have a saying. I'm sure in other languages also this saying may be interpreted that the pain comes on the horse, but the pill, the remedy, comes on foot. I mean, this misinformation comes very fast, and then you do not have enough resources, and you do not have even enough money, enough power to fight this misinformation. But the state, when even not even the public TV, even the media that tries to reach to its citizens, in this case, yes, this media may lose kind of the content that must be reached to the minority that doesn't speak in the language. And in this case, I agree with you.
Thank you very much, Armen. Do we have other questions? I do not see anything in the chat. I do not see hands raised. Maybe if we do not have some other questions, maybe we could close this very, I hope, a very inspirational discussion. Armen, if you have any last comment or observation, or maybe even something which could inspire other broadcasters in the region on their reporting on minorities, please do share, and we could close the meeting.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you to everyone. Christina, do we need to say something more, or we just close the meeting? Thank you everyone for the participation, and we go back to work. Thank you very much, everyone, and it was a pleasure.
Да, спасибо всем большое. Спасибо всем большое. Я думаю, это очень важная тема и очень было интересно. И будем надеяться, что ADAMI также сможет устраивать такие обсуждения не в этом формате, не в онлайн-формате, когда уже вместе преодолеем запреты ковида. Спасибо всем большое. Еще раз позвольте напомнить про голосование. Это сейчас самое важное в этот момент, самое важное для нас, для ADAMI. И еще раз напоминаю, что уже 8 номинантов объявлены. И попрошу всем рассказать про это своим друзьям, родственникам, коллегам, всем, и проголосовать на сайте, помочь нашим участникам стать победителями. Спасибо всем большое и приятного вечера, приятного дня. Надеюсь, встретимся в ближайшем будущем.
Thank you very much, everyone. All the best and goodbye.